Okay, so, ready to head back to the moon.
Always ready for a lunar adventure.
This time we're talking Artemis III. And this is not just a repeat of the Apollo missions. We're going somewhere new, somewhere exciting. The lunar South Pole. You've sent over some amazing NASA documents and some interesting stuff from Wikipedia, so let's dive right into this. First things first, why the South Pole? What makes it so special?
Well, it's all about those craters, the ones that are in permanent shadow.
Permanently shadowed. You mean they haven't seen sunlight in billions of years?
You got it, and because of that, they're incredibly cold. And that leads us to the real treasure hidden down there. Water ice. And I'm not talking about just a little bit. We're talking potentially massive amounts.
Okay, so more than just enough for a moonwalk mojito. Seriously, though, what are the implications of finding usable amounts of water ice on the moon? That seems like a game changer.
It is a game changer. It could revolutionize lunar exploration. Think about it. Water is essential for human survival, obviously, but it's also a key ingredient for rocket fuel.
Oh, wow, right. Break apart those water molecules, and you've got hydrogen and oxygen, both of which you need for propulsion. So instead of lugging everything from Earth, we could potentially fuel up on the moon.
Exactly. And it's not just about fuel. Water can be used to generate oxygen for breathing and even to support agriculture. We're talking about a potential paradigm shift from simply visiting the moon to actually living on the moon, and water is at the heart of it all.
That's incredible. But landing in near constant darkness in freezing temperatures, talk about a tough parking spot, right? What kind of engineering challenges come with touching down in such an extreme environment?
You're not wrong. Landing at the lunar South Pole is no walk in the park. It's a huge technical hurdle. It's not just about getting there, it's about doing it with incredible precision. We're talking about navigating incredibly rugged terrain with limited visibility and all in these brutally cold temperatures. That's why NASA is looking at multiple potential landing sites, each with its own pros and cons. They've actually narrowed it down to 13.
13 possible landing spots. Okay, I need a lunar travel brochure. But how do we even start to get all the equipment and, well, the humans, down to the surface?
It all starts with a rocket, and not just any rocket. We're talking about NASA's heavy hitter, the Space Launch System.
The SLS, that's the one that's been in development for what feels like forever.
And for good reason. It's the most powerful rocket ever built, and it's the only one currently capable of sending Orion, the spacecraft that will carry our astronauts, all the way to the moon in one go.
So we're talking serious horsepower here. This thing has to break free from Earth gravity and send Orion on its way to the moon.
You're telling me we're talking about 8.8 million pounds of thrust at liftoff? To put that into a perspective, you can maybe, almost wrap your head around. That's like 14,000 jet engines firing at the same time.
Wow, okay, yeah, that's a lot of power. So, Orion, our deep space taxi, our lunar limousine, this is not your average capsule, right?
Oh, absolutely not. We're talking about a spacecraft that's designed for deep space travel. It has to withstand the intense conditions of lunar orbit. And get this, it has to survive re-entry into Earth's atmosphere at speeds of over 24,000 miles per hour.
24,000 miles per hour, that's like, what, 32 times the speed of sound?
Something like that. And here's the really cool part. Orion is designed to be reusable, so it'll be used for multiple Artemis missions. And the great thing is, we know it can handle the heat, literally. It already aced its uncrewed test flight back in 2022 for Artemis I.
So we've got our heavy lift ride with SLS to get Orion off the ground and on its way. But it doesn't actually land on the moon, does it?
Yeah.
This is where SpaceX comes into the picture with their Starship, right?
Yeah.
Tell me more about the whole Starship Human Landing System, HLS.
Okay, picture this. Starship is like nothing we've ever seen before. It's a fully reusable spacecraft, which is key to making these lunar trips more sustainable and hopefully more affordable in the long run.
So are we talking like a space series service here?
That's the idea. So Starship HLS, that's the lunar version of Starship, it'll rendezvous with Orion in lunar orbit. It'll take the astronauts down to the surface, and then, here's the kicker, back up to Orion for the return trip home.
So it's like the ultimate rideshare, except your destination is the moon. I love it.
But to do all of that, you'd need, well, a lot of fuel, right?
A whole lot. That's where the propellant depot comes in. Think of it like a cosmic gas station. SpaceX will launch this depot into Earth orbit, and then their reusable tankers will make multiple trips, filling it up with fuel. Then, Starship HLS will top off its tanks at the depot before heading out to the moon.
Okay, so
It's a pretty elegant solution to a complex problem.
we've got this amazing spacecraft, Starship HLS, ready to take us down to the lunar surface and back. But let's talk about the astronauts, the humans, making this incredible journey. Artemis III is making history with its crew, right?
Absolutely. This mission is breaking barriers. It's about inclusivity. For the first time ever, we'll see a woman and a person of color walking on the surface of the moon. Finally. It's incredible to see this level of representation in such a groundbreaking mission. It's about time. Okay, but let's talk about what these trailblazers are going to be doing during their week on the moon. It's not just about taking a lunar stroll and planting a flag, is it?
Oh, not even close. We're talking serious science here. They'll be conducting experiments, collecting samples, making observations. Artemis III is all about pushing the boundaries of our understanding of the moon, the solar system, maybe even the origins of life itself.
Wow, okay, so it really is the ultimate science mission. What kind of equipment will they be using to carry out these experiments?
Well, first of all, they're going to be sporting some pretty stylish new spacesuits. Axiom Space has designed these next-generation suits, and let me tell you, they're light years ahead of the old Apollo suits.
Oh yeah, I've seen the pictures. They look way more flexible and high-tech.
They are. These suits are designed for mobility and dexterity, so the astronauts can move around more easily and perform those complex tasks. Plus, they're packed with advanced life support systems, communication gear, all sorts of tools for collecting data and conducting experiments. These suits are basically wearable laboratories.
I can only imagine the amount of research and development that went into creating these suits. It's pretty mind-blowing. So what kind of samples will they be collecting in these wearable laboratories?
We're talking about lunar rocks and soil, of course, especially from those permanently shadowed regions. This is material that's been untouched for billions of years, and it could hold clues to the moon's formation, its history, maybe even secrets about the early solar system.
It's like digging into a time capsule that's been sitting on the moon for billions of years. That's incredible.
Right.
And, of course, confirming the presence of water ice will be a top priority, right?
Absolutely. Analyzing that water ice will tell us so much. It's not just about whether it's there. It's about understanding its composition, its history, where it came from. This information is crucial for figuring out how to utilize it for future missions.
It's amazing to think that we could be on the verge of unlocking these secrets that have been hidden away for, well, pretty much forever. And speaking of unlocking secrets, one of the most fascinating experiments planned for Artemis III involves lunar agriculture.
Yeah.
Tell me about this leaf experiment, lunar effects on agricultural flora.
Okay, so get this. They're going to set up a mini lunar greenhouse. The idea is to study how plants from Earth grow in the unique environment of the moon. They'll be exposed to reduced gravity, different radiation levels, altered light cycles. It's like lunar gardening.
They're actually going to be growing plants on the moon. That is amazing. So what does it mean if they're successful?
Well, if we can figure out how to grow food on the moon, that changes everything. It means we could potentially create self-sustaining lunar outposts, maybe even settlements where we're not entirely dependent on Earth for resources.
It's like taking a huge step towards becoming a multiplanetary species. It's mind-blowing.
Okay.
And it's not just about food, right? What other resources are we talking about? What else can we utilize to make a lunar base a reality?
Well, as we've discussed, water ice is essential. But there's also the potential for rare Earth elements and helium-3, which could be game changers for energy production back here on Earth.
So Artemis III really is laying the groundwork for a whole new era of space exploration, a future where we're not just visiting other worlds, but actually living on them. This is a global effort, though, right? It's not just NASA, right?
You got it. Artemis is a prime example of international collaboration in space exploration. For instance, the European Space Agency, ESA, is playing a crucial role. They're providing the service module for Orion. That's the powerhouse of the spacecraft, responsible for propulsion, life support, all sorts of critical functions.
It's really inspiring to see how space exploration can bring people and nations together like this, all working towards a common goal. It shows you what humanity can achieve when we put our minds to it. So we've covered the what and the how of Artemis III. We've talked about the amazing spacecraft, the mission objectives, the incredible science that'll be happening on the lunar surface. But now I want to get into the why. Why is Artemis III so significant? What does it mean for the future of humanity's journey beyond Earth? We've been laser focused on the specifics of this mission, the technology, the science. I mean, it's just mind-blowing to think about humans back on the moon, especially at the lunar South Pole. But this mission represents something much bigger, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Artemis III, it's not just about visiting the moon, it's about learning how to live beyond Earth. We're talking about testing out technologies and strategies that could one day allow us to build a sustainable presence on another planet.
So it's like a test run for humanity's future in space. But why the moon? Why not just aim straight for Mars?
Think of the moon as our, cosmic training ground.
Our cosmic training ground, I like that.
Yeah, it's relatively close to home, right? So communication is easier, mission support is more manageable, and sure, it's an extreme environment, but it's not as completely alien as Mars.
Right, right. It's a good first step.
Exactly. We can experiment with life support systems on the moon, try out different construction techniques, figure out how to extract resources, all those things you'll need to survive on another world long term. We can work out the kinks close to home.
It's like learning to walk before you can run a marathon. But in this case, the marathon is colonizing Mars.
Exactly. And if we can figure out how to live sustainably on the moon, just imagine the possibilities. I mean, think about it. Lunar outposts could become launching pads for missions deeper into our solar system.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
We could even build telescopes on the far side of the moon, shielded from all the interference from Earth. We'd have an unparalleled view of the cosmos. And let's not forget those lunar resources. If we can mine them, that could be huge. I mean, imagine materials for building infrastructure in space, maybe even reducing our reliance on Earth's resources in the process.
It's incredible to think about a future where humanity isn't limited to Earth anymore, where we're exploring and utilizing resources on other planets, on other moons. It's exciting, and honestly, it's a little bit daunting, too.
It is, and that's the beauty of Artemis III. It's this bold step into the unknown. It's a testament to just how ambitious and ingenious humanity can be. By pushing those boundaries, pushing the limits of what we think is possible, we're opening doors to knowledge and opportunities that we can't even begin to fully grasp right now.
So to our listeners out there, we'll leave you with this. As we venture further out into the cosmos, what new discoveries are waiting for us? What amazing potential will we unlock? What will it mean for humanity to establish a foothold beyond our home planet? Those are questions worth pondering, and the answers might be closer than we think. This has been a deep dive into Artemis III, a mission that signifies so much more than just a return to the moon. It's about igniting our imaginations, sparking our sense of wonder, and reminding us that the future among the stars is well within our reach.
Blast off into the cosmos with Beyond Earth, the Space Science Pod. Join us for out-of-this-world conversations on everything space, from Mercury's first flights to Apollo's giant leaps, and today's cutting-edge missions to the stars. We've got stories about satellites, astronaut adventures, cosmic conspiracies, and space race sagas, all served up in laid-back chats that turn mind-bending science into down-to-earth fun. Whether you're a seasoned stargazer or just curious about the universe, there's something for every space enthusiast right here. So subscribe now and fuel your cosmic curiosity. Remember, in space, everyone can hear you learn.